So sorry, you guys. When we are talking, we do need to turn our mics on. So if you can make sure the green button's on and then go ahead and turn it off when your group is done. I apologize.
In the rows behind them
Yes, we'll go back there too. So yeah, and if you are introducing yourself from the back, if you could kind of step up to the table so we can hear you, I think that would be helpful. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Charlene Bacalso, representing the business owners as an alternate.
And I'm Mackenzie, and I'm representing the business owners as well as the primary. There you go.
Hi, I'm Terry Chase, South Des Moines, and I'm the alternate.
Hi, I'm Eddie Duggar, and I live at Wesley, so I decided you had to have an old folk here.
We're the only one, sister.
Anybody else? Oh, I'm Mary Ellen Laird. I'm representing the central part of Des Moines, and I'm a primary.
Hi, I'm Victoria Andrews. I represent the Marina District. I'm the primary.
Doug Andrews, Marina Tenants, alternate.
Kirsten Hubbard, Marina Tenant, primary.
Bettina Carey, alternate in the Marina District.
Linda Thompson, and I am primary for the North Central District.
Chuck Coleman, Redondo, alternate.
Colleen Gantz, I'm with the Zenith neighborhood, and I'm the primary representative.
Paul Gustafson, Zenith, alternate.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Go, Dave. And my name's David Emery. I'm the primary representative for the Redondo District.
Yeah, let's go to the rest of the back there.
I'm Rick Laycock, and I'm not sure if I'm primary alternate, but I'm in the Central District. So.
Hi, everybody. Bexabel Chicana, North Hill. I am the alternate.
Hi. Sorry. I didn't know I was going to introduce myself. I'm AJ. I'm the Assistant City Manager for the City of Des Moines. Nice to meet everyone.
Nice to meet you.
Tracy Buxton, I'm the mayor.
Harry Steinmetz, I'm the alternate mayor, otherwise known as deputy mayor.
I'm Councilmember Gene Oxier, and the end of the line.
All right, I'm gonna hand it back to the mayor and say a few words.
Thanks, Jenny, and thank all of you for taking the time out of your lives to just dedicate some of it to serving your community like this, coming out on a rainy evening and joining together with all of us. It's really delightful for me to see all of you here. Some of you I know a lot better than others, but lovely to see your faces here tonight. So first order of business, I want to tell you a couple of stories and make a little decision here first. So as most of you know, I've been the mayor for a couple months now. Before that, I was the deputy mayor, like Deputy Mayor Steinmetz is now. And I would introduce myself to people every once in a while. Hi, I'm the deputy mayor. And they'd say, Deputy mayor, what's that? Does that mean you carry a gun? And I'd say, well, no, I'm then I'd explain it. But I didn't really have a job. There wasn't anything specific that was dedicated to me as the deputy mayor, unless something happened to the mayor, which never happened. And he was an amazingly busy but capable person. And another unfortunate thing that would happen every once in a while, no fault of the mayor's, just the way we had things set up. But, often I would be there just standing by his side, and then everything would be done, and then I would leave. I would just, a decoration. And one time somebody said to me down at the beach park, we were, it was the music in the park, and somebody made a joke about me being Matt's arm candy. And so I know. So I that was the last time I ever went up on stage and said nothing. I would always run to a back corner of the Meadow when they were doing introductions. And so I thought at this juncture, as we pivot, to really, it's good leadership and good succession planning to make sure that people that come in behind you have some experience doing some of these things, but it's also good leadership to have some responsibility for that step of being the deputy mayor. So as we discussed and thought, one of a really great opportunity I felt like would be to hand the baton to the deputy mayor to be the chair of this committee and to work with Jenny. I am on this committee, and I will attend just like Councilmember Oxiger, so I'll be here. But I am officially tonight going to be handing the gavel over to our deputy mayor, Harry Steinmetz. Go, Harry.
Well, thank you very much, and you know, I could do so much worse than being your arm candy. But I appreciate that, and you know, Tracy and I have talked quite a bit about how to define these roles a little bit so that we can support each other, and you know, it's a lot when you're the mayor and you take on everything. So I'm happy to help take a little bit off her plate and still try to be involved and do the things that I would do as a normal council member as well. So, you know, this is one of those things, and I have always felt that the Citizens Advisory Committee was a great idea, and it felt like there was some spinning of the wheels last time. And so part of what I'm hoping that we can do this year in the big picture is sort of set things in motion so that the next Citizens Advisory Committee knows what they're coming in to do and has a schedule set, and things are planned out a little bit more, and that eventually there are, you know, there's a process that we're all used to and gets a rhythm and a flow going to it. So that's sort of a big picture goal that I have for this year. Also, you know, I think it's important that the Citizens Advisory Committee has something that they can say, hey, I did that. And so we'll talk later about the naming the alleyway behind the theater, because I think that's something I've talked to several people about, that we want your input, we want you guys to take the lead on that. But of course, being government, there are rules around this, and we'll address those. You know, also, I want to make sure that everybody here is aware of what's been going on with the council and generally with the city. And, you know, we've been really, I know you haven't met since, I think, last November. There's been a whole lot going on since then. I mean, we've had, you know, a Small Business Saturday proclamation, the 2024 Human Services Advisory Committee funding recommendations that we amended, the Des Moines Creek Business Plan, the West Master Park Hearings Examiner Review, suspending the restriction on the use of one-time revenue for 2024. We did an ordinance and a reallocation of the American Rescue Plan Act funds, reassignment of the city manager, the existing city manager, to the position of Chief Economic Development Director, reassignment of the city attorney to become the interim city manager, a consultant contract amendment with Joe Dusenberry down at the Marina, a consultant contract amendment number 13 with Grant Fredericks, the Barnes Creek Trail, South 240th Street, a redesign and right-of-way services agreement that we did. King County Cooperative Watershed Management Agreement, grant award for the Des Moines Creek Estuary Project. The AHBL Consultant Services contract was awarded. The 24th Avenue South Improvements Project with Puget Sound Energy Easement Amendment, so that we can get all the work done at one time and be as the least amount of disruptive as we can with some of that. right-of-way dedication for the Des Moines Theater. And there will be a regional coordination framework for disasters and planned events. The 2024-2025 recycling program professional services contract was awarded. The Department of Ecology 2023 through 2025 water quality storm water capacity grant award, which we received. Commerce Middle Housing grant agreement, the Human Trafficking Awareness Day proclamation, the 2024 City Council legislative priorities were enacted, and now that the legislature is done, we've been very successful with a lot of those legislative priorities. Creation of the City Council Finance Committee, did through an ordinance. Request for proposals for the executive search recruitment firm for the city manager vacancy. Black History Proclamation Month, Korean American Day Proclamation, the Emergency Management Performance Grant, CTAC Stakeholders Advisory Roundtable appointments of Steve Novak and Joe Dusenberry. And as you may have heard, we are actively pursuing a lot of recommendations that came out of a consulting contract for communications. Plus, we're looking for more recommendations from some people in the community that have some expertise in that. We have, just a lot of stuff. We, of course, elected a new mayor and a deputy mayor. We have populated all of the committees in addition to creating the new one. And we have basically a whole different government in place than was previous. And so a lot of this is moving forward. And one of those things that we wanted to move forward on was getting the Citizens Advisory Committee active again. So, sorry? Oh.
So I'll just ask.
Yeah.
So if somebody wanted to, couldn't remember all that, where could they go to find out all that information?
Oh yeah, all that's in the City Currents, which we do publish quarterly, but should be available on the website. The link was broken this afternoon. It's going to get fixed. And so it should be available if anybody wants to go look at just the nice laundry list of everything that has happened since then. And this is what your government, your city government is doing. And it's important that everybody understand and know that. So, that's just kind of one of the things. Oh, we left out the public hearings were held on the 2024 property tax levies, the 2024 preliminary annual budget ordinance, the 2023 annual budget amendment, and a street vacation public right-of-way within the city of Des Moines known as 10th Avenue South. So, and then there were a couple other things, as I mentioned, swearing in of Yoshiko Grace Matsui, who is our newest council member, and then the re-election of Jeremy Nutting. And so he was sworn in as a new member, and then, of course, Ms. Buxton and I were sworn in our positions. So, that's been a full couple of months, and it's only mid-March. So, I want to welcome everybody to the Citizens Advisory Committee. I want you to know what your city's doing. I want you to be the connection to your neighborhood. So if somebody, has a question and it needs to percolate up through, or if you need to tell them where to go to get that question answered, that you're the people to do that. So, that's my vision, at least, for the Citizens Advisory Committee. So that's what I got for you. Are there any? Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah. Are there any questions about that, Victoria?
Some of you may know that I'm a pretty regular attendee at city council meetings. Some of you have lives, so you may not know this, but some of the other things coming up that I think your neighbors should know, and you might want to elaborate on them, is the thoughts about a biennial budget, a levy lift, And I'd also personally like to know from my neighborhood a little bit more about when the marina parking gates are going to finally be operational. Don't have to address them all at this meeting, but these are things that I think our neighbors are going to want to know more about. Thank you.
Yeah, and I'm not intentionally leaving those off. Those will be addressed. If not at this meeting, at subsequent meetings as they progress. You know, at this point, there are a lot of things we're just not really clear on. You know, and one of the things I'm just going to anticipate a question is that the RFP that went out for the recruiting firm, we have not met with the consultant yet. They've signed the contract. They may, the consulting firm, the representative from the consulting firm may be able to join us tonight, but we don't have the process nailed down yet to even share with you. So just so long as everybody understands, what I'm anticipating your role will be into helping us define what it is that we're looking for. And so that's something to just kind of keep in the back of your heads. You know, what are the things that you hear in your neighborhood that people want in the next city manager? And so help us define what it is that we want to get in, you know, as defining what we need in our next city manager. So, anybody else? Okay. Gene, is there anything you want to add?
No.
Okay. All right. So we did the introductions? We did. Okay.
We're going to move on to the alleyway naming. And thank you to those that were able to attend the theater tour. I found it very interesting, and hopefully you all did too. And so it was, I think, a week and a half ago or so, on the 16th, there was a theater tour that was offered to get in to look at the new theater, kind of, or not the new theater, but the renovations of the theater, and how it's coming along, and then also kind of start the conversation of the alleyway naming to just get a look at the theater, be able to sit with that a little bit, knowing that we're going to be talking about the naming coming up. I know that this was something that those of you that have been on the committee, we talked about it a little bit, very briefly at the end of our last meeting in November. And so it's nice to see the mayor and deputy mayor wanting to move this forward and still have it be a citizens advisory committee item that you'll be involved in. And so I guess, do we want to start with those that attended the tour? If you had thoughts on just kind of talking about what's going on with the renovations and just kind of giving a feeling of what you saw and heard, maybe to let the rest of the group know what you were able to witness and what's going on over there. Any of you? Yeah, go ahead.
I guess one of the things that I heard from the community as they're working on the theater is like, how come it's taking them so long? How come it's taking them so long? And after I've had 2 tours now, one through the Woodmont group here a few weeks ago, and then the one that we were on just the other day. And when I got through going through it a second time, it crossed my mind that how in the world did they do all that in such a short period of time? That building is absolutely amazing what they've done with that. And I think it's going to be a real asset to the downtown district. All we got to do is figure out where the people that are coming there are going to park.
Well, I can kind of share a little bit there. Is that, you know, the marina parking lots are not busy at night when the people who are attending concerts are going to be there, and there's thought of running a shuttle bus service back and forth. So
that was going to be my question, because my wife and I were talking about that last night, and it was like, there's always all the marina parking, but how is, I mean, is the city or the marina or whoever's in charge of that parking thinking about shuttles and how they can use that? So that's good.
The idea's been proposed. We don't have anything definite in place yet, but that's the likely short-term solution. Depending upon how everything else plays out, there may be a longer-term solution.
Thank you.
Hmm?
Anyone else who attended? I'm looking at you two over there.
I haven't been inside that theater since they were doing the $2 movies, and I took my kids and they were little. So it was, I have to agree with Doug, right, Doug, that it was amazing. It was completely not what I was expecting. I really had no idea that it was going to be to the extent that it was, and so I was in awe. And you know, I've lived here for 20 years, and I remember talking at that tour that it just doesn't feel like Des Moines has really done growth in that magnitude. And so it's just exciting to see what will happen. And I just hope that it's successful, because I've seen so many restaurants come and go and so many things change that just don't last. And I just think I have such positive hopes for it. It was really cool. And just in the way he repurposed the materials and just really put so much thought into the whole thing, I was blown away. I don't know if you have anything to add.
I agree. There's a lot of thought put into it, a lot of love put into it. And what I really loved is that there was a lot of new things, but they also kept a lot of the old structure in there as much as they could, which is what I felt when we were doing the Citizen Advisory Board last year. That's what a lot of us wanted. We wanted the old feel, but we wanted to vamp it up. And so they did a really beautiful job with that. And I'm really excited for it. I think it'll bring a lot of perk to Des Moines.
And Ryan, I just saw you come in. Thank you. I'm glad you could join us. Do you want to maybe, I know it's kind of a tight fit here, do you want to maybe step to a mic, pick a mic, and introduce yourself, tell us your neighborhood and whether you're primary, alternate, and then if you have a few words that you wanted to share about the theater and your thoughts, just to put you on the spot completely.
No worries. That's why you don't show up late. Ryan Crompton. I am the primary for Woodmont. Theater. That was awesome. It was great to be able to go in there and see that. You know, every time we've driven by for like 3 or 4 years now, you look at it and you're like, is that new paint? Is that a new thing? Okay, we're making progress. When the sign came on a couple weeks ago, that was like, oh man, we're getting there. So it was really neat to see the upstairs elements that were all added. Obviously, more people living in the downtown area is more people who go to restaurants or go to the park or are just out and about, and that'll liven up the town. And then just seeing the potential for the actual event space and all, and the restaurants was very exciting. It was great. Can't wait to have it filled out. I was super impressed by the vision for what they've already done, and then the vision for how to make it a successful business with having a firm that runs these type of event venues, and having them thinking about how do they run just the venue itself, or do they run the venue and the restaurant and the different things. They've really put a lot of thought into it, and that was exciting to see, and you felt like, well, these people know what they're doing. Cool. Can't wait to see it come to fruition. So yeah, that's what I got.
Thank you. So I think, do you have something else you want to?
Yeah, if I can just share with just a couple more things of the theater. I talked to Ben. He's willing to do another tour. If for those that couldn't make it, if that is, check your emails. We'll set up another one, probably another Saturday around noon or so, tour to go through it. And then the one other thing is that back on that alleyway, there's a florist. There will be a florist down there. They have taken a lot of the space underneath because they do a large commercial business, and that's nice. But they'll have a retail business out there. So now we'll have, Cubanos on Wheels. We'll have Creole Soul, and we'll have the florist back there, and hopefully adding some other businesses. One of the other buildings, the owner has talked to Ben. Ben Anderson is one of the owners of the building who gave us the tour. And he said, yeah, we could put something back here and sort of open up that for business. So it's starting to percolate. So that's the idea behind the alley naming, is that the city agreed to put the power underground so that alley could be free. It's still going to need space for cars, but I think there's plenty of room in there to have some businesses back on there. And what do we want to call it? And Jenny, you had some of the particulars, I think, of what the rules are about that.
Yeah, so staff has told me that there's time to put some thought into this. We don't need to rush and come up with a name right away, but they do, see in the next probably 6 months that they do need to get a name on that alleyway so that they can start assigning addresses to businesses going in. So we have some time to kind of think about this. But the biggest thing that they did tell me is that that coming up with a name does require a public hearing. So this does have to go before the council. So it does need to be on for council final decision and then holding the public hearing, et cetera. So we do need to make sure that we are giving enough time frame to get that process done because I know that you guys have a process for how that all works and notices, et cetera. So just keep that in mind. Those are really the biggest things that that they were stressing to me is just, there has to be a public hearing. Council has to have final vote. So while we can come up with ideas, it doesn't get to be final here. It has to be a council vote for final. So I just wanted to make sure that we all have the same expectations through this process and how that's going to go. And so do you want to talk about the thoughts on kind of how we were thinking about,
Sure.
Like how many maybe to put before council ideas, et cetera, that sort of a thing?
Yeah, I mean, my hope, and, this is open for input, is that this committee can come up with at least 3 possible names for the alley. And just to let you understand why addresses need to be assigned there is it's a public safety thing. The fire department has to know what address to respond to. So you have to have a name and an address in order to do that. So if we can come up with 3 names to put forward to the council, council will have a public hearing on those 3 names, which then everybody can attend and comment on, and then the council would presumably move forward with one of those 3 names. But I think that's a good way to get the input of the Citizens Advisory Committee on advising the council what the name should be. And so, can I just open it up for comments at this point? Yeah. So if there are any comments about that kind of a process, Colleen, I see your head nodding. Yeah, I know you're agreeing, so I call on you.
I think that sounds wonderful. And if we're truly representing our community, we should be able to do that. I was originally wondering if you were going to have any sort of contest or anything, or were you going to leave it to this committee to do it? Or to put?
I think that's up to this committee.
Great.
My process was trying to get 3 names out of this committee. How the committee wants to get that, we can, I think that's up to you guys to figure out what it is that you want to do.
Great, thank you.
But it's got to be a fairly short turnaround. 6 months, if we're going to do a public hearing, et cetera,
Hold on.
will take a while.
And turn the name toward Harry.
Yeah. There we go. Okay. Victoria had her hand up first, so I'm going to call her because I already know her name.
Thank you.
I've seen you at council meetings occasionally. So.
Occasionally. I love the idea of a contest. My neighborhood has its regular first Monday of the month meeting next Monday. I'd like to throw that out to the residents who come, and how would we gather as many names as we can from folks? I mean, it's easy for me to gather them from them. I could just have them email me, but how do we get the rest of the names to the committee? I guess that would be the next thing we'd need to think about. If we're going to ask our own neighbors to come up with ideas instead of scratching our own heads, that, the more the merrier.
Jenny, would you be a distribution point, or would staff?
Yeah, definitely. If you have ideas, I think that tonight, those are the questions that we should kind of answer, right? So I think that the idea is let's define the process of what we want the process to look like. And so I know that we have it further on the agenda, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that. But I do, Deputy Mayor and I were talking about that earlier, is we're probably with this topic going to need to meet, have a meeting, monthly for the next couple months, just so that we can be staying on this, which I know is different than what we did last year. But I think that the process, if you guys define the process as you want to, have a contest, or you want to have some sort of a submittal, or you want to just gather your own neighborhood submissions and bring them to a meeting, and then we start talking about them, that is what I think we can talk about and decide tonight, and let you guys define that process of how you want to gather that information. Unless I'm misspeaking,
I think
please,
we're
please
still
correct.
taking-
Well, I mean, if you have a different opinion on that
Oh,
approach.
getting there
let me know.
tonight?
Yeah.
Yes, I think that'd be great. Bettina's tent is raised, but I think the woman next to you, I'm sorry, I don't see your tent, your name?
I was just wondering if we shouldn't be doing a much broader search, though, and getting out to more people to get other people involved. I mean, we do just our neighborhoods, that's one thing, but other, you're gonna get complaints. Why didn't I know about this? Things like that. I would have loved to have been involved. We should be able to, at least through, send out postcards, I don't know. The ability to communicate at a broader level to homeowners and people who live here.
I assume you have a response to that.
I do.
Uh-huh.
So one very important reason for forming this committee in the first place is to be able to get work done in the community that we can't do because we've got a lot of assignments and jobs, and the staff has assignments and jobs. We've got a budget, and all of our staff, they're maxed out in their FTEs, right? So the reason, and then the APB went out across the entire city asking for people to step up to this position. So part of it is you guys answered the clarion call. And so you guys have the option of going out into your communities, using your Facebook pages, using your next door, knocking on doors. But if something happens and you're not able to do it, you're the representative for your neighborhood. And this is the way representative government works and representative neighborhood works. You guys are the representatives that we're trying to pull on. If you want to put something out on Facebook and do an informal survey, you're free to do it. But the reason you're here is because we don't necessarily want to task the staff with even more administrative work. So you guys are the administrators. So however you decide you want to do it, go for it. But I think that's part of the.
You have a follow-up?
Follow up on that? Yeah. Well, I'm assuming, I used to work for the city of Seattle, for Seattle Public Utilities and GIS and all this stuff. I'm assuming that there's a database somewhere that has the addresses, mailing addresses at least of the city of Des Moines. If not, there's a way that it can be done through a mapping process to get that. Would you be willing to give us the access or work with your IT if we have the ability to do this and be able to pull all this information together and get things printed and done to get a broader thing, if we've got the skills to do it?
I don't think that we could share that. It's because there's a privacy issue with that, but also there's a cost of mailing. And yeah, I mean, we may have some members on the committee who would understand, that's not an insignificant amount of money. And as the mayor pointed out, we're looking at you to bring us the voice from your neighborhood. And so, I mean, I'm not opposed to anybody that wants to go put it out, go out with a clipboard and knock on doors. That's a fine way to do it. And maybe your neighborhood will be more represented than other neighborhoods, but that's really up to you to administer. Okay. Bettina?
I'm always a big picture person, and so when I see what could be a potential contest, just as a one-off, because I'm in the marketing world and communications world specifically, there's costs, there's planning, there's time that we probably don't have built into this particular decision. But this could be a topic that has a broader process that we could develop so that when decisions like this came up, we actually had a system in place, and we had the budget in place, and we had the list in place. So I would be all over a contest. That was, I raised my hand right away for doing that thing, but I also, because I'm in professional business, I know that this is any decision that works into a contest is gonna roll out a budget that has to be also decided in order for the information to come in. You have to have processes behind the scenes so that it's fair and equitable and things like that. I do this for a living. I'm happy to help collect names and ideas and, the infrastructure, just as a volunteer. But at the end of the day, I would like to see that this kind of decision leads to more, how do we handle these really cool opportunities for the city in a more planned way, so that when we do have like a really cool opportunity that we don't miss it. Because I feel like we have the idea and it'd be so great, we'd be so willing to do it. I see the faces here, but at the end of the day, there's no time to really do an efficient, a full-out campaign. And yet, this is going to come up again, these kinds of decisions. But so if we took the time to really say, well, okay, how would we really work out a contest? How would we really roll out something really that we want the broader community to know? Then we have an answer every time, and we're not making it up as we go along. And that's how you scale a business. That's how we could scale opportunities to communicate to the public, because that's what this really is, right? It would be huge to have that engagement and that fun and all of that. But at the end of the day, I don't know that we have the time to really do it. But we do have the time to create a bigger operation for future decision making.
Ryan?
I'll pass me that mic. I don't want to shout over your face. That seems bad. So 2 things on this. I'm pretty sure there was a survey that already went out to everyone on this, right? I filled out a survey on the city's website asking for name suggestions for that street in 4 months ago. Anyone else take that survey? Okay, so cool. I'm not just misremembering that. So I'm pretty sure we've already asked the community for that. So I double check with that. And then I think the only other thing would be, I'm certainly happy to go and ask my network and all and bring back, but I'd be leery around just the optics of if we spend a bunch of time on this, how people in the community could be like, oh, the Citizens Advisory Committee just became the Name a Street Committee, and actually we thought it was going to address bigger problems and things that are more impactful to us. So I think this is good and we should get the input, but I'd be leery of spending too much time on this when I think things like budgets, future projects, the mayor or the future city manager, I think those are more what at least my community is hoping that we can talk about in these meetings. So that's all I got.
David?
First of all, Harry and Tracy, thank you for being gentle and delivering the message that we're not going to have a budget. We had a lot of city support to do what I'm hearing a lot of interest in. So I think, to summarize, it sounds like everybody's going to be obliged to talk to their neighbors, generate a list, send them all off to Jenny, and remind everybody we meet in 3 months. And we're going to have to vote on our 3 by then, because that's 3 months until it has to be done, and it's going to have to go to a city council meeting. So we can't wait 6 months from now to take the vote. So this is actually a 3-month project where I think it looks like probably Jenny will generate a list, and maybe all of us could agree that everybody scores their top 3, 1, 2, and 3, and whatever number 1 is 3, number 2 is 2, the third least of the 3 is a number 1. We rank them, come back and report back to us what the top 3 is. We argue over, well, we missed a great opportunity over here. Does that sound more like what we're looking at now? Okay.
Except, David, I'm hoping we can make this a 1 month. Getting back to us in 1 month, because we're going to propose that we have a monthly meeting as we get to the end of the agenda. So we turn it around pretty quickly, and so we're not spending 3 months on a naming project, but rather this is just the first piece of action that hopefully we can get from the committee.
I have the advantage that in the Redondo, we have a community association and a large email list that we could send out, send us your name. So 4 weeks getting it back to Jenny would be fine for us, but I recognize we're kind of an exception.
Mary Ellen?
I'm wondering if we have time to do like a contest where, I don't know when the next City Currents comes out, but maybe putting something there or on the Des Moines homepage so that more people have an opportunity to hear about it. In my area, I'm a door knocker. There aren't any groups that I'm aware of that meet regularly, so I went door to door, you know, on previous assignments trying to get information. So I don't know if that's an option or not, where you could involve more people from Des Moines in the process.
Yeah, the next City Currents comes out on May, or is mailed out on May 20th.
So
And
that's
then there'd be
not in time.
a delay time for response.
Anything on the web page that we could put.
I do want to reiterate a different way of saying this. I want to elevate all of you, okay? This is your voice. And however you gather your neighborhood opinion, we just want to say we don't, like David so eloquently said, we don't have a budget. We're not going to task staff. You guys are it. And I want to give you a ticket to be as creative as you want to be with your own Facebook page, create a Facebook page, whatever. But this is your job, and you guys are smart. You're dedicating your time to come to the table. Go for it. And if it turns out something happens in your life and you come to the table in 1 month and you haven't reached out to your neighbors, you're it. And you've got a good mind. You're creative. I want to empower you guys. Don't worry too much about it. You are it. Go for it. Okay.
Terry?
I was just going to say that I'm here for my community. I'm representing my community. I don't want to do a contest because I feel like that's going to just, as much as like the thought behind it's great, that's not why I'm here. If people wanted an opinion and to be involved, they'd be sitting here, not me. And so maybe that's a little harsh, but I just, if we're told we have this small limited time and there is bigger issues that we need to talk about, then, you know, gather your names and then let's make sure we have a list to you guys. Because I figure if people wanted to be involved, they'd be sitting here.
Victoria?
Thank you. I still like the contest idea, and there is nothing wrong with bragging rights. Bragging rights don't cost anything. What this could mean for whoever does come up with the winning name is that they get to be the grand marshal of the naming ceremony, ride on the convertible down to the alley and introduce you all. I mean, I would love that, frankly. Somebody will get in on this. We need to make use of the vehicles that we have. Now, 2 of us here do have pretty substantial neighborhood groups, but we could make use of the Waterland blog and get the word out to them as well. I mean, we do have ways in our community. I'm not on Facebook, but I certainly am happy to write to the Waterland blog. They will print it, and it will go out that way to everybody. With the caveat that, you know, you got to come up with this fast, and whoever wins gets to be the grand poobah of the day that the announcement is made. Done. Then we move on to the more important things, and I'm all over that. Budget.
Pauline?
So I was the one who first said contest, sorry. No, it is a great thought for community engagement, and I'm also a community engagement professional. And I think that I do know, I really resonated with what Tracy was saying, Mary Buxton, about the representative government and how we do represent our communities. I think we can have a blend of all these ideas by doing a little contest in our own neighborhood, you know, or not contest, but like a call for ideas, and then create our own list and bring that to Jenny. And then, so it'll have the feel of community engagement, broader community engagement, but we'll represent the neighborhood. It'd be a great way for us to get to know our fellow neighbors too.
Thanks.
Just off the top of my head, if you want to contact the Waterland blog, write a little blurb about what you're looking for and let everybody know who their neighborhood representatives are, and hopefully you're willing to be contacted. Great. You know, some people will get 2 responses, some people will get 20. And you can use that as part of your process, whatever you do in your communities. So I think that's a way to sort of meet it halfway, but that's just right off the top of my head. I'm not.
I do want to say, if you decide to do that, please decide, I'm going to just put a limit on it. Please decide within the week, and then anything that you want to put out in the public, I'm going to ask, with your permission, Jenny, that she review it first. Just for liability reasons, right? We want to make sure that you're explicitly stating who you are and why this is happening. So anybody wants to take that on? Run your text by her, and then, any other thoughts on that, Jenny?
No, that works. I just want to make sure that if there are members who do not want their contact information, yeah, okay. So we will, too long. Got it, okay.
Okay, and don't have them send anything directly to Jenny.
No.
David?
Yeah.
Would that, Tracy, would that apply to something like one of us representatives sending a blast email to our neighbors asking?
Your community group? Right. In fact, direct the questions here, the chair.
Would it be okay if I sent an email to my community group without running by Jenny first? They know.
I don't think that would be a problem.
Okay.
Just the blog.
Yeah, something broader, more like that, suggesting a little contest or anything like that. Let Jenny take a look at it first. So, Gene?
Yes, and for each of your neighborhoods, I would urge you to reach out to your local PTSAs. You know, this is a great opportunity to get the kids involved, get the you know, working families that, you know, their main concern is the education of their kids and that sort of thing. And I think it's a great opportunity to engage them. So there's, you know, what, we have 5? Mm-hmm. 5 elementary schools and middle school and the high school, so great opportunity.
Ryan, Woodmont Elementary is waiting to hear from you. Terry?
I guess I just want to clarify. So all of these suggestions are going to be gathered and sent to Jenny. Jenny's going to put this potentially very long list together, and then we're going to go through and narrow it down to 3 to give to you in 4 weeks. I just want to make sure I'm putting the details out.
Yeah, I don't think that every suggestion you get goes to Jenny. Every suggestion you get is what you get. You pick your top 3 and send them to Jenny.
But if people are advertising, I don't want my personal contact provided, so any suggestions that are going to be made outside of just my neighborhood that I will collect, I mean, I assume they're all going to Jenny or the individuals that live in those neighborhoods.
In your neighborhood, they'd go to you.
Okay.
Can I just kind of maybe help with this process a little bit? So how I think it would be probably easiest is if you're collecting all of these, you send them to me. And then at the next meeting, before the next meeting with the agenda, I can send you the full list of everything we received. I don't know that you necessarily need to filter it. I think that you can send everything on, because then you're not, I know we kind of did that with the city priorities. Those of you that were here last year, is you kind of filtered down to what your top 3 were. But I think that for this, if you're asking for people's input, they can all go forward, and then, you know, we may get a lot of repeats too. Then at that next meeting, you've already had a sense of looking through that list and kind of maybe from that full list coming up with your top 3. And then we'll do some fun, you know, way of voting, et cetera, to come up with the group's top 3 potentially. So I think that might be the best way. It gives you a little bit more time, that you don't have to feel so rushed to have to, one, filter people's comments, but then also have to vote on your 3 before the next meeting. So we'll kind of make the process a little smoother. So I think collect it however you want. I just wanted to kind of like reiterate, kind of recap some of the stuff that we've heard. So collecting names from on your own, however you want to do that. But if you are going to put something into a public space, making sure that I get to have eyes on it first. So send it to me. I feel like that probably would be, even if you're sending something to a school, make sure that I have eyes on that first if you're sending it to the PTSA groups. And then also collecting all of the information, sending them over to me. And you can send them in pieces if you want to, and then I'll just keep adding to the list. You don't have to wait till the very end. And then no need for you guys to filter or to vote before sending my way. Does that sound okay? Okay. All right. Sorry. Yeah.
Mary Ellen?
I just want to clarify, my vision for the Waterland blog would not have all of our names in it.
No.
It would just be hey, here's your opportunity. And so that would just kind of come.
Yep. Yeah.
Where would the
That's what I'm wondering. So are you going to put my email in there? Okay.
No, that's kind of, that's
Yeah.
dropping a lot on you.
well, that's
Yeah.
That's where I can volunteer to create a spreadsheet that people can populate their information and their suggestion with their name, and it just goes to one big hopper, and you could be copied on it, and every council member can be copied on it.
Like a Google form type.
Yeah, jot
entry.
form.
Yeah,
a
jot form. Yeah. Okay.
And that way, nobody's getting one-off emails and driving their box to a crazy limit.
Yeah. Do you have jot form already that
Yeah,
you can do
yeah.
that? Okay. So if you want to
Yeah,
take the
I
lead
can
on that,
volunteer
that'd be
to do
great.
Doug, do you understand what
Perfect.
she's saying? Oh, and Victoria doesn't either. Can you explain it a little bit?
So in typical contests, all of us have participated, right? You fill in a form online, and then where does that go? Typically, it goes into a form, a spreadsheet, so that it lives just in the jot form itself. And that way, nobody has to get an email per se about it, but it's right there in a spreadsheet.
We'll talk offline.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, you guys coordinate?
Well, I do see some more questionable looks on this. So just to make sure nobody's seeing the full spreadsheet except for the back end people. So that's where people can just fill out almost like a little survey form with their ideas, and then that data is collected on the back end, and then we can easily have that spreadsheet already populated. Makes life a lot easier.
Back behind Mary Ellen? I'm sorry, I don't know your name. Betsy?
So does that mean when we're picking, thank you, when we're picking the top 3 that we have to before next month, that each of us will have to survey or check out the entire spread list from every neighborhood? Or will, like, for the spreadsheet she picks her top 3? For the ones that I collect, I pick my top 3. Would it make sense to just have the top 1? That way, if we have 1 each, then, we narrow it down to 3. I guess I'm getting confused. How many do I send to you, Jenny? How many?
You send all that you collect.
If I collect 10,000, I send 10,000 to you.
10,000 of them,
That's
yep.
what Jenny
And
wants.
then
you can be the grand
and then
poobah.
And then,
but I think a good thing is that jot form. If we're gonna have a jot form, that jot form comes with a link that you can share to your group, and then you don't have to collect them. They can enter them right onto that little survey.
but then I still would have to go through that myself and then bring
Nope.
to this
Nope.
3.
We have it all, and then you get to review it, the full list before the meeting, and then we're gonna talk about that full list at the next meeting. You don't have to sort or filter anything.
The full list from all of us. So if it's like a million names, we all have to do that in a month.
There are only 32,000 in the city. We can narrow it down right there.
So there might just be, is there just one list, though, that everybody's feeding into the same one? So she would not have to review the list. Is that correct?
She doesn't have to call out 3 names from the various ones that she suggested. No, she just sends
But
them all in.
it isn't her list, it's our list.
Our list, it'll be the full list, yes.
Okay.
One list.
So she doesn't have to review.
You won't know what neighborhood it came from. It'll just be names.
And that's the one in the Waterland blog. Is that,
Evidently.
okay, all right.
Just hang on one sec.
Well, it sounds like, what we need here is a little bit of structure, and Bettina has offered to, I think, head this up, and then, working with staff to actually coordinate it. I think that, that's something that could be done easily that way. The other thing that I think would be very helpful is, because you've got everybody's going to be putting this out, it would be helpful to have a narrative as to exactly what, so everybody's reading off the same script. It's to name the alleyway, what the purpose of the whole bit, so that everybody's, got the same message, and you can collect the data and come back, so you don't have people coming back and saying, well, I didn't understand that's what it was, or anything else. But if we're empowering the committee to do this, then the committee needs to decide so-and-so's gonna be in charge of this project and do it.
And if we, just to place, if the survey was up, asking people beforehand, borrow, if we can find that, and just get their language describing it.
Yeah, I'll ask staff on that to see what it is. But I'm happy. If not, I'm happy to help draft the narrative for you guys and send that out to you. Yeah.
Yeah, all I was going to say was there definitely was a survey. I can't find it because the internet's not great in here. But it probably would just make sense to reopen that survey since it closed and just send out that link to people, since it's already got a big database behind it of whatever was collected when it first went out. It would just make sense to be like, hey, we've extended the survey. It kind of then looks better than like, hey, we forgot that we asked you about this 3 months ago and, whoopsies. So I would just suggest that we do that.
Okay, so if I'm hearing the consensus, Bettina, Jenny, and Victoria are gonna kind of take the lead on getting something out to all of you very soon. So like in a week? Tomorrow?
Let me check with staff first.
I need more time to write. I have to think before I write. So by this weekend, yes.
And let me check with staff first on the survey that's already been done. Let's get some answers on that first, but I think that then the three of us can move forward once we have that information, okay?
If you three communicate and get something done to go out next week, that would be great, because that'll give us enough time to get responses back so that by the time we have our next meeting, which we'll set later on, we'll have a good list to pick from. Is that, yes?
My question is, does the city have a map defining all these areas so we can see what the border is of our area that we need to be talking to? That's right. This is a example of one, but
Yeah.
It doesn't have streets listed.
When you got appointed.
The new people don't
you-
have everything.
Okay.
Not yet.
That's, okay. We will,
Okay.
that's on tomorrow
I'll
night's
make a note
city
on
council agenda, that the new people will get appointed. And, I'm sorry,
Oh, no, I was
Jenny?
just saying, I'll make note of that and make sure it's done.
okay.
Okay. Yeah.
The email list.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Okay, so
Good.
do we have a
Excellent,
consensus
thank
on a way to go forward with this? Bettina?
Just one more question. So if we're going to, all of us solicit, and it's all gonna end up in one place, thank goodness for that, then should we make it a little bit fun? And have, like you were saying, Victoria, the winner gets X, Y, or Z, or something that's a little bit more fun, and maybe we come up with some ideas either really quick right now, or that we can slap on there as part of the.
I'm gonna put we do have the city manager recruiter that's joining us, and we said at 7 we would switch over to him. So I do like the idea, but I do want to come back to lack of budget and staff time, right? So yeah, so maybe there's a thought that's put into that, but I don't know that we have time to truly dive into that tonight. So we have yeah.
Can we talk to the businesses to see if anybody's willing to donate something for the prize?
Why not?
Sure.
You don't need-
I will say that if you're putting out the request for information, you'd want to know what that is prior, and it sounds like we're on a very speedy timeline to put out the request for information. So I'm not sure that we have the time to collect, gifts or contest winnings or whatever at this time. That's what I'm hearing from our timeline and everything. So I just wanted to. I love the idea. I just think that our timeline might not allow that.
Bettina, if I can get you to hold your thought for a little while we get Dave Tuan on.
Yeah.
Since he's our consultant for the city manager recruiting firm.
Dave, are you able to hear us? Yes, let's see
Be a
if
little bit
maybe,
louder.
are we able to turn, we're gonna turn your volume up here. Are you able to hear everybody in the room? Because the mic is right next to me, but I can move it more central if need be. Okay, good.
Do we want to put one of these up to his microphone?
Oh, yeah,
We're gonna
probably.
see if we can get it.
I might need, oh, there we go. Okay, try it now.
I wonder
Dave,
if,
can you talk? Say something.
Oh, that might be it.
Tracy's gonna try to put the mic next to the, yeah. So while we're figuring out the volume, we can hear you, it's just really quiet. And we also wanna make sure that the cameras can hear you. I'm not sure, maybe Zoom does that okay, I don't know. But, welcome and thank you for joining us. So we do wanna introduce Dave. Dave is the, recruitment firm. Oh, can you go ahead and say something now, Dave?
Yes, this is Dave Tuan. Can you hear me?
It's a little bit better, yeah?
How about now? Is this better?
That's better, yeah, that's better. So Dave is here joining us. He is with the recruitment firm that has been selected for the city manager recruitment. And again, I just want to restate what Deputy Mayor said earlier is the council hasn't even met with Dave yet. So they have not defined the process of what this looks like moving forward for what their desires are for this process. So tonight, Dave is going to kind of just, I think, give you a little bit of overview, but also really define what we're going to be doing tonight and the information that we're going to be asking you to provide. So, Dave, I'm going to turn it over to you. Go ahead.
All right. Well, thank you very much, and thank you for making time for this this evening. I understand you meet every few months or quarterly, and I saw the agenda. You have a lot to do tonight, so I'm going to be very efficient. I'll try to stay on target. And what we're going to do tonight is I'll give you a background on SGR, who we are, when we were actually in your town in 2016. I'll give you a little background on myself so you get an introduction of who I am. And then I'll just outline what the city manager recruitment process looks like so that you have an idea of the trajectory that we're headed in, what that timeline could potentially be. Then we'll stop for some quick questions if you have any for me, and then I'll have a couple questions for you and maybe give you an opportunity just to give some feedback. So before I begin, I have a question that I need to ask because this has now started a debate with my colleagues. Is it Des Moines or do you say Des Moines?
The answer is yes.
That's what I was afraid of. Okay. Well, I've heard Des Moines, and for some reason, I have a friend who's from Washington who told me Des Moines, so I'm going to stick with Des Moines. I hope you don't boo me out of the room if I do say that. But one other caveat, I probably will mess up and say city administrator or city commission. This terminology kind of changes from city to city, so sometimes I do slip up. So if I don't say city manager and I say city administrator or something like that, please forgive me. I'm an imperfect person, but I'm trying here. So to begin with, a background on SGR. SGR is Strategic Government Resources. This is our company, and we focus entirely on hiring public local government professionals. That's entirely what the company is geared towards doing and how it was founded. Our founder, Ron Holofield, was himself a city manager in Texas, and he started this company as kind of a streamlined way to help local government find good people and a solution to just putting an ad in the paper or struggling to recruit and advertise your city when you have a day job, your city staff, your HR people. It's a hard enough job as it is to find, public works staff and police officers and things of that nature. So finding someone like a city administrator or a police chief, which I understand you've recently gone through, it's a tough task. So SGR compiles a lot of resources to help cities do this. And one of those things is the network. SGR has the largest network of local government professionals in the country. And we also have the largest public job board for government positions in the country. So that gives us access to a lot of candidates, and we're able to kind of do a fit for the positions based on what those cities and local governments are looking for in their next candidates. So the process basically starts with a proposal being sent and an interview or some communication, and usually someone like myself, who is a recruiter, is assigned to a city to help them find that position. So a little background on me: I am a former city administrator, city manager myself. I hail from North Dakota. I currently live in Montana, but I spent a decade in local government. I've worked as a city engineer, public works director, and also as a city administrator, and have a lot of just time and expertise and experience working with local government, and particularly small cities is my specialty, cities under 100,000. So I think this is a really good fit, and I'm really excited to learn a little more about your community and to help you. My educational background is engineering and public administration, and I've served some time in the military and worked both in the engineering sector and now the public sector for the bulk of my career. So I'm excited to help you find that great candidate that I know is just going to be a good fit for your community. And it's going to be a bit of a journey, but we're going to do it together. So in a nutshell, I'm going to describe for you what this process looks like and what you can expect kind of from me and from SGR as we guide you through it. And then I'm going to stop at that point and let you ask any questions if you have any. So this process can take many months. It can take several weeks. It really just depends on how fast and how in-depth the city council really wants to get into. And as Jenny mentioned, we've not had those first discussions yet. So I want to be respectful to the city council and just say to you to begin with, I probably won't have answers for you if you're going to ask me, when will the city manager be hired, or when will we have candidates to review publicly? I simply don't know that yet, but a typical process would be somewhere between 60 and 90 days before we have the first candidates coming in. Again, it's dependent on what the council wants to do, but that's typical. So to start the process, we usually do what we call stakeholder engagement, which looks a lot like this. We sit down in a meeting, and the stakeholders are usually defined by the city council or the board that governs the city, and they'll determine who is going to weigh in on making these decisions. So it can sometimes be the council members themselves. Sometimes there's some key staff members in there, maybe the city attorney, things of that nature. But that stakeholder engagement in the beginning phase, I think it's the most important part, because it gives shape to what it is that this position is really for, what they're trying to get out of these candidates, and what they're actually looking for. So stakeholder engagement is the first step. The second step is what we call the development of the profile. And that's a bit of a behind the curtain process where the city isn't tasked with this. That's an SGR task. We build the position profile that we then put out there to the world and advertise. So we'll be in this multi-week process taking information typically from city staff and the information we've collected from the stakeholder interviews to build a profile of Des Moines and show it to the world of, what does this community look like? What does it offer to an incoming, city manager professional, or to the candidates out there? What are some of the challenges, some of the opportunities? And we try to really portray the community honestly, but also we like to really highlight and illustrate the features that might draw in the candidates. So this is a really critical step, building this profile, and we utilize some of our in-house design staff to do that, but a lot of that information comes from the city itself that we then build upon. So once this profile is built, the next step is launching this job throughout our network and through the various advertising channels that we mutually agree upon with the city. So that might mean looking regionally. That could mean looking through the entire country. We have various advertisement companies and job boards and things like that we typically use. Of course, the SGR job board and the SGR network is the biggest one, so we always use that at minimum. But let's say your city has particular credentials that they wanted to look for, whether it's stuff like economic development skills or finance skills. We could then tailor, where we're sending those advertisements accordingly. Maybe it's with the, Government Finance Officials Association. Maybe it's, with ICMA or something like that. So, so that launching of the job includes not only advertisement, but then a lot of behind the scenes interaction that I will do with candidates that are already in our network that maybe have applied for other jobs, could potentially be in the area. We start linking people up so that we actually get applications coming in. So once that job has been launched and it's been advertised, typically, minimum 30 to 45 days is what most cities do. You want to give enough time for candidates out there to not only have a chance to learn about the community, but put in a good application. Applications, once they start trickling in, we then start screening these according to what those stakeholders have told us are important credentials or important qualities to look for. So we'll start whittling these things down and triaging, as we call it a triage, and we'll start giving reports to the city that have different tiers of candidates for them to start to look at. And as those come in, we start doing a little more background checks and some interview questions and screening of those candidates, so that by the time the advertisement is complete, we have a set of top tier candidates and mid-tier candidates for the city to choose from that they want to interview. So that brings us kind of the final phase, which is the interview part. And that process, I'm usually there on site in person to help guide the city in the interview. Sometimes the city likes to do these on their own, which is totally okay. Sometimes they want a little more support. The interviews can be intense. As someone who's gone through them before on the SGR side, let me tell you, it's a fun thing to go through a 3 or 4 hour interview sometimes. But if that's what the city requires in order to screen these people, that's what we're willing to do. So sometimes we have public meet and greets and public presentations as part of this. So you can imagine the process can get a little lengthy at that stage. But that's usually the final push to get these candidates screened and interviewed, and then a selection is made. And once the city makes a selection, SGR will help with the negotiation of a contract with that candidate if they so desire, and that is the end of the process. So again, the time depends on what the city really envisions, but typically, 60, 90 days, sometimes 120 days is typical. It sounds like this city is in a good position here with an interim administrator or an interim manager, which is always a great thing that there's some stability there. So hopefully you feel also as well from the community side that there's the right amount of patience and time to apply to this. But we'll be responding to what the mayor and the council wants to do in terms of the timeline. So I'll stop there for a second and let you ask any questions about the process, about SGR, anything at all if you have before we go to the next part.
Okay, Chuck.
Hi, David. Thanks for taking time tonight. Just a quick question. Given the economy where we are today in our country, how many candidates do you think, you've been doing this for a while, how many do you think you're going to see? And what kind of a short list do you think you're going to have at the end of, let's say, 30 or 45 days?
I heard the first part. It was how many candidates do we think we're going to see? What was the second part of the question?
Second part is just how many candidates do you think you're going to see in 30 to 45 days, given kind of where we are in our country and our economy today?
We've been seeing fewer than in years past since before COVID. This is a much harder time to hire and recruit and attract. We've seen in the last, I would say, year or so, what would have been typical before COVID to get 30, 40, 50 good candidates. You might get over 100 people apply, but we don't consider them all to be, serious candidates until we get down to that semi-finalist phase of people the city would actually consider. So I would say, now we're probably, if we get 15 to 20 at the semi-finalist phase, I would be happy. I think this might be a different case where what we're seeing on the West Coast is a stronger result. That's not the case everywhere, and I certainly can't guarantee that's what we're going to have, but there's been more interest in people moving out to the West Coast. Your city has a lot of appealing features for people who want to move out to that part of the country, but it is in the background a very difficult time for professionals at this level. People just don't seem to want to move as much as they did, 3-4 years ago. I think another part of this is, not to get too into the deep end on this question, the housing market has made this really tough. We've had several searches that have made it to the end, and then having negotiations with the candidate have been a struggle because, you know, they might be leaving a house and having to move their family across the country. They might have a mortgage with 3% or something, and, you know, having to move to a new market where the housing is different, the mortgage rates are different, that becomes a challenge. So just to make you aware, there are some of those things that make this a little more difficult to bring somebody in. And there's only one city manager in every city, so there's not, you know, a ton of people in your immediate region that are just sitting there looking for these jobs. It's an effort to recruit them. So kind of a cagey answer on your question. I know you might be looking for more of a hard number, but suffice to say, it's not an easy task.
That's good, thank you.
Bettina?
So given the size and the scope of our city, would you recommend starting regionally and then expanding nationally, or do you just go right to the national level?
It's a great question. It depends really on the attributes of the candidates that you're looking for. And I'll give an example of a city recently that was looking in South Dakota. They wanted very specific regional knowledge for a professional that understood their state government and their state laws. In that case, the very first push we did was state level, which, as you can imagine, South Dakota is already pretty tough, but it depends on that feedback we'll get through the stakeholder engagement. If what they're looking for allows us to sweep at a national level, so much the better. If we're really looking for someone from that region specifically for some reason, you know, we can certainly narrow that search, but I would just respond to that question by saying, you know, we'll reflect what the council is looking for.
Anybody else? Going once, going twice. All right.
I would like to say. David, right?
Yes.
It's really nice to meet you, and thank you for taking your time to come out and meet with all of us here. Really, really appreciate that, because I know you're going to be very involved with us over the next couple months. So great information. I thought you did a great job clarifying for these the questions that were offered to you. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. And you know, what we're going to have over the next few months, hopefully, you know, through the city commission, is an engaging process. Usually at the end, there's some public announcements and things like that. So maybe we'll be talking again. But if we don't, I'd like to ask you a few questions tonight, since we're here, and get a little feedback from you. Now, typically the selection process is very much a elected official city council task, and this isn't something that even the city council is usually expecting to do. As my mentor says, city administrators, city managers are hired with great enthusiasm, and they're fired with great enthusiasm. So it could be the greatest day of your elected official career, or maybe not. So we try to make that somewhat of an easier process by giving you good data and good criteria to select candidates. But it's not an easy thing. And for the public to understand that this isn't, you know, just like hiring another local government professional, this is the top leader at your staff level. It's a hard thing, and it's really important to find the right fit. So what I would ask for you tonight is, in thinking about, you know, what makes a good candidate, we try to promote the city in a very honest fashion, but also really illustrate what challenges and opportunities might be in the city. What are some of the things that you would want to communicate to the candidates out there on the opportunity side that Des Moines has to offer that might draw in some good candidates? So really thinking about it in the way of why would a good city manager who's out there right now, maybe in a job, maybe looking around, why would they want to come to Des Moines? What would you tell that person? What kind of opportunities would you tell them exist there?
Dave, this is Jenny. I'm going to scribe for you on the flip chart. You're not going to be able to see our flip chart because it is going to be right next to your screen. But I just wanted you to know I'm going to be up there scribing like we discussed, okay?
And if I can make a suggestion, let's just go around the room and a sentence or two. What are the opportunities here? What do you think sells this community? And Charlene, I'm going to put you on the spot right off the bat. Yeah, please.
Our little town is a true gem, and we are a small waterfront community, and we still have that small town community feel, and yet we're really we look forward to progressing and becoming more modern and being more of a destination. So we have a lot of thoughts in our future and a lot of plans in our future. So I think we do offer a really cooperative community atmosphere to our new city manager.
Mackenzie, you were out?
I was out.
Yes.
Can I just ask really quick, if your comments are already captured up here, let's not restate them for the sake of time, okay? Thank you.
Charlene, can you explain it to Mackenzie in her ear while Terry gives us, are you ready to go?
What we're looking for a manager? No.
How to tell our community.
What's the opportunity? What's special about the community?
Yes, small town feel, exactly, brighten it up. Yeah, that's actually perfect.
All right, Terry.
I would add to go along with that we're centralized in a location that makes us really convenient to the airport, to the freeways, to downtown, to a broader scope of getting to places around here. So it makes it nice to be able to, I appreciate that I'm 10 minutes from the airport. Everybody wants to park at my house when they go travel, so they don't have to pay for parking.
Mary Ellen?
So I always describe us as a small town near a big city. So I would highlight what we have available in the city of Seattle, including the UW Huskies.
Victoria, before we get to you, I'm sorry, I've forgotten your name, Betsy, thank you.
I would want to say for the future city manager that in this city there's a lot of growth and opportunity for new projects, and hopefully business leaders, community leaders as ourselves that are willing to help in any way we can. So yeah, just that. Thank you.
Victoria?
We have a very passionate city council, smart and articulate, and so is the community itself. Passionate, smart, and articulate.
Give Jenny.
I guess it's the.
We need.
Smart, articulate, passionate. You got it.
Passionate. Doug?
I guess probably the emphasis that's already up there is we are a waterfront community.
Okay. Kirsten?
And because of our relatively mild, and I'm comparing that to the Midwest, because of our relatively mild climate, we have all kinds of year-round recreational activities.
All right, I'm going to take a different tack on this. So I think from a professional development or a resume standpoint for this person, there's a lot of stuff that's really close that they could effectively see through to be big wins that they could help grow their own career, right? I mean, it can be hard to recruit when you're a smaller city. This may be a stepping stone to a bigger city for somebody. We have to be realistic about that. But this is a great opportunity to grow for that individual too, in an environment that's supportive and where there are some near-term wins that could really be like, hey, look, I delivered all this stuff for my city. That'd be cool.
Although not so much representation in this room, this is a city that's very, very diverse in culture and language. And, the opportunity really is for that city manager to reach more of a diverse population, because there's just not enough representation that comes to city council meetings and that is a part of the city itself. So I think there's a huge opportunity that's waiting to be explored. Linda.
I'm sorry, I've forgotten your name.
That's okay, Linda.
Linda, thank you, Linda.
I think there's a lot of opportunity for infrastructure growth to support new things to move into the city, new development, things like that.
I'm gonna tear really quick.
And Chuck, before we get to you, let's go behind you. I'm sorry.
Oh, I think they said it all.
Yeah, my comments have already been stated.
Okay. Richard?
Yeah, my comment has already been stated. I'm about location, location, location.
Okay. Chuck?
Strategically located between two major employment hubs.
3. Bellevue.
Wow.
It's a different
All right, Colleen?
Well, building off that a little bit, it's a good place for business growth. I'm not sure we captured that exactly. I agree with everything that's been said, but to somehow put something about good place for business and growth of business. And then something along the lines that the partnerships, ability to partner with other agencies, because we do have a lot going on here that involves SeaTac, the Port of Seattle, Sound Transit's new growth in our area, WashDOT. So someone who can handle those partnerships.
Paul?
That's exactly it. The opportunity to partner with other agencies, but also other cities that are like us, like Norney Park and SeaTac to a certain degree, and that's somewhat unique for us compared to a lot of cities.
David?
I actually have 2. One is, I think they need to recognize we're small enough that a strong city manager can have an oversized impact on the future of Des Moines. And that sort of plays off. This can be a stepping stone for someone with larger goals. And I know it's been said several ways, but I want to emphasize that there's a huge amount of untapped business development opportunities here. If they understand we're stuck in the 70s and surrounded by 2 huge employment monsters, this should be very different here. The business environment should be very different here than it's been since I've lived here.
Well, I think I'm gonna hold mine till,
Okay.
yeah, I mean, this is I'm in the information gathering mode right now. I'm taking all these notes, so.
I do have one thing that I want to share, and that is not only do we have ethnic diversity and cultural diversity in this town, we have income diversity. Wide income diversity, because we have the waterfront and we have neighborhoods across Pack Highway. And the difference between those neighborhoods is huge. So that's something that creates a lot of opportunity. How do you reach out and bring in everybody? So otherwise, I agree with everything. Gene?
Well, I thought we were going to.
It's up to you. Do you want to share that?
I think the one other thing we have is that we also have a very large retirement community and a lot of people that are willing to share their expertise. And I think, the opportunity of tapping into that resource, I think, is great. And they may, a lot of the people may not want to, be tied down with serving on council or something like that, but they're certainly willing to contribute. And these are people that have considerable backgrounds, from throughout the entire region. So,
all right, that's around the table. David, anything else that you want to ask?
That's terrific. Those are great comments, especially that last one. Maybe we'll put that last one as a challenge and an opportunity, because sometimes taking that input from the public can be a bit tricky. But no, in all seriousness, that's great. To get an idea of what you envision as the opportunity. I'll flip that question around and ask you if you have any, we don't call them problems or friction points, but we try to portray them as challenges, but challenges that an incoming city manager might want to know about up front. And this isn't to scare anybody away. It's just to be really clear that our city has, for example, budget challenges because revenue is down through COVID, for example, or maybe we've got staffing challenges because it's a struggle to get people here because the housing market's tricky. Or maybe we have challenges where we have a lot of, public groups that need some leadership to be brought together. But are there any challenges out there that you're aware of from the community perspective that you think might be relevant to an incoming city manager coming into your community?
Okay, David?
So apparently we're starting at this end. You're going to hear an earful, but I'm going to start off with we're small, and so there are limited resources. And the second one, even though there's a huge amount of untapped potential for business development, there's also a lot of resistance from the communities for change.
Yeah, I think it depends a little bit on who you're recruiting from, but at the national level, you're gonna hear the word crime. It's just associated with our area, right? And so it's just gonna be something we're gonna have to address. That it's here, right?
Something that we heard about in great detail to one of the last council meetings was community engagement, and the city, I guess we don't have a strong reputation for deep community engagement, meaningful community engagement. So we're working on improving that.
Richard?
So I think one of the biggest challenges you have in this city is dealing with, like the port, SeaTac Airport, and the revenues that they bring in, they're not shared with the cities around them, and how you can negotiate something to bring in businesses that could capitalize on that revenue stream.
And, I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm Eddie. No,
Eddie?
I agree with you. I was gonna say the same thing you said.
Okay. Chuck?
So I agree with everything that's been said so far, but we also have a geographical challenge. Our city is a very long, narrow city. It's constricted on one side by water, which is a blessing and a curse. It's also constricted on the other side by Interstate 5, which again is a blessing and a curse. Transportation is helpful, but it brings other issues with it.
Linda?
I would say that we have traffic challenges, and they would need to have a good vision on how to resolve that so we can have the kind of growth that we want as far as businesses and expanding.
Bettina?
I think one of the biggest challenges that the city manager is going to face is our budgeting for the next probably 5 years out. Also agree about the communication and specifically more outreach to a more diverse audience. And that's just an opportunity and a challenge. It's both.
Kind of got two, but they're summarized under one, which is we've got a couple of like really long-standing, intractable / hard or nearly impossible problems to solve that the community is very invested in. The airplanes flying over, which is kind of like important to everyone, but doesn't have a clear solution or even a way to really make it much better. And then the high, effectively some of the issues we have along Highway 99, and the fact that that is complicated by that is actually a not only just a state route, so they own it, but also the delineation between two or three different cities. So that has created a problem where it's been really hard, where no one has been able to solve that, and we've just have an issue that everyone knows about, talks about, wants better, and no one's been able to do something with. So it's a frustration point that exists has existed for a long time and continues to exist.
Kirsten?
So I'm still on my recreation theme here. And because we have Puget Sound, we've got a lot of protected areas, protected animals, and Des Moines is kind of on the side of a bowl that drains down into Puget Sound. So there are all kinds of federal and state mandates, regulations, whatever, when it comes to dealing with remediation of anything, any kind of water runoff, the airport with the hazardous waste, the planes discharged, all kinds of things.
Doug?
Coming from a construction background, so anytime somebody's going to build something, my ears pop up because I'm always interested. And the biggest complaint that I hear consistently, and it's been this way for years, is from contractors saying, I really have trouble trying to build anything in Des Moines because the permitting process is just so terribly cumbersome. I'd rather go build someplace else because I can't get anything done through the permitting process in the city of Des Moines.
Victoria.
Playing off our limited city boundaries, key concern to a number of people is preservation of public spaces, and also our antiquated communication systems.
Mine has been said already.
Okay. Any that you want to put an extra dot next to?
Oh, I was looking into the growth. I think somebody has said that earlier, that like the economic development. I think we said it very early.
Okay. Mary Ellen?
And I would go with economic development is a priority.
Terry?
Just to piggyback, Ryan, correct? Just to piggyback on Ryan talking about the different cities and being so close together, I've personally experienced the difficulty of living in a neighborhood where one corner is Des Moines PD, the other corner is Kent PD, and the other is Highline College Security. Kent and Des Moines can't deal with college stuff. They all have to communicate each other. I literally had to call the police and got transferred to 3 different agencies because no one knew who was supposed to respond. So that was very difficult.
Mackenzie?
A lot of them have been said, the limited resources, 99, the identification of going downtown and growing the downtown so we can get people here. I know we get a lot of people from the airport that want to be by the water. So helping with that, I think, would be a good one. We're not talking about helping now, but.
Charlene?
Yes, on that note of our downtown needs an identity, and we need to encourage these property owners to help support those businesses that they are accepting rent from. So we need economic development, absolutely.
Gene, anything else?
Yeah, I think we have the elephant in the room, which is the airport. And we have had, with the last legislative session, we have suddenly a crack in the resistance from the airport to deal with any of its impact on our area. And I think we need to burst that crack open.
Okay. Yeah, one of the things that I would add on there is, particularly picking up on Terry's comment about the PD, is we have very uneven and nonsensical city boundaries. And that creates a problem for enforcement, for development, for revenue, and at some point in time, that's a big, long-term challenge, but it definitely is a challenge.
Can I add upkeep to that list of things? I think that's the same way. Upkeep of those areas also gets ignored.
Right, because if one area isn't kept up, the area in Des Moines falters as well. Yeah. Tracy? Challenges?
Well said. I'm the eternal optimist, so I have a hard time digging up even more than what you guys said. So, no, I think that I'll just say the first thing that came to me was the long and narrow corridor that we have. I think Highway 99 at one point in the last decade was listed as 6th in the nation, 10th in the world for trafficking as a corridor because it's right next to an international freeway and it passes through several cities in a short space of time. And because we're long and narrow, everybody in the entire city is I think less than a mile from that corridor. So we do have some crime challenges, but I think that they're even in our state, some of those are surmountable. So I want to encourage a passionate, smart, creative person can come aboard and help with that.
Okay, Dave. Oh, Bettina, you have another challenge?
Actually, I don't think it's been mentioned, but we have a really difficult time recruiting police officers. It's a nationwide problem, and it's not going to probably get any better anytime soon, but it's a big deal, a really big deal.
I might take that one further just as a thing. We have our own police department. Not all cities do. That's probably worth mentioning in this to this person that like that comes with the territory. It's not handled by the county. We've got our own. So.
Do you think that's a challenge and an opportunity?
Oh.
Absolutely
That's an
both. Yes.
No, it's
Yeah.
Not a challenge, it's an
not
advantage.
a challenge. It's way over there. Top of the list.
I just meant it to say it's something that we should mention to them of like, hey, this also comes with its own police department.
Burien. I'm sorry,
Who
excuse me.
is well supported in this community, by the way.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Okay. Charlene?
Going off of Ryan, and not a challenge, but I, in support or another plus to our community. Quite honestly, and this is a nationwide crisis, the homeless. We do not have the homeless problem that other communities, even next door to us, have. And I appreciate that, even though the fact that the few homeless we have been busy recently, setting fires, but that is a real plus in people I serve, that they felt their children were safe coming into our community.
Yeah. All right, so, Dave, I think that might give you a little something to work with, perhaps?
Oh, that's terrific. Thank you so much. And I appreciate the honesty with these comments. And yeah, sometimes you don't know, is this a challenge or an opportunity? Point made. And just so you might feel some sense of comfort, you're not alone on the policing side. That is a nationwide challenge that folks just have not really solved that one quite yet. It's just a hard market to fill right now. But this has been terrific. I know we're kind of at the end of our time here, so I'll just say thank you very much, and Mayor and council members, thank you for choosing SGR and for choosing me. And if you have any final questions, I'll stand for those now, whether they be about the process or really anything related to the city manager position. And with that, I'll yield back the floor. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I want to say, really, we appreciate this. Okay. Let's see, so there's that. And we were going to get back to Bettina on the alleyway naming.
Oh.
Bye, Dave.
Thank you, Dave.
All right, bye. Thank you very much.
So because we're out of time for discussion, I think it would be just fine if we just said there's going to be a surprise related to the naming, the person who names the city's alleyway, right? So that way it can be just decided later.
Okay. Yeah. David?
I personally don't want to be involved in coordinating names with the names of individuals with the names that they're suggesting for the alleyway. I think it's going to be added level of complexion that will be difficult to manage.
I also think it kind of gets away from like all of us, right? It goes to a lot larger picture, and it's more about like getting community instead of us actually being part of that and interacting with the community. So I just want us to remind, like, keep it to where we can connect with everybody still and not just blast it out there. So.
Okay. Victoria?
I'd like to take a pulse then. Is Mackenzie alone in her feeling, or do other people feel that way? Because I won't write anything if we should just stick to our own resources within this group.
David?
I'm of the same mind.
Anybody?
I was going to say, okay, let's define the question that we're raising our hands to. So, Victoria, I think what I heard you ask was, do we all feel like we're just going to go out and gather names by communicating and speaking with our neighbors, as opposed to doing a outreach in the Waterlog or Waterland, sorry, blog.
You're doing fine.
Waterland blog.
Okay, so if.
Let's put it to a vote.
Okay, so voting for no outreach to via the blog, via the schools, it's just you speaking to your community and bringing back the names. So how many are in favor of that? Yeah.
9.
Okay.
All opposed? Seven. We just voted on whether you're individually just going to go out, speak to your communities and bring that back, or whether you want to do something a little broader and contest oriented. So.
Do you want to vote one way or the other?
I think it should be broader. I think we
Okay.
should put it out there, and we can also go around to our neighbors and, you know, suggest to them, hey, this is where you can do it.
Sure.
However you can.
Sure.
communicate it.
I think what I'm also hearing is maybe the question isn't should we go broader with being able to put something in the blog or to the schools, because I think that actually is a very easy thing to do. I think that maybe the question is there a prize associated with it, or is it sticking with no prize and this group is really going to be the recommending body to the council, and then thank you to the Citizens Advisory Committee for bringing forth these names for us to look at, that, you know, 3 names we proposed to look at, and then we acknowledge that you did the work on this, even though it might have been someone else's idea. Is that what maybe that's the vote we need to take. So how many people want there to be a prize associated with it?
I think it'd be fun. Prize in quotes, yeah.
Prize in quotes, because it might just be writing.
Could be a ribbon cutting.
A ribbon cutting, okay. So a prize in quotes. How many want that? Okay, and how many want it to just be?
Of course.
You're just asking for names, and then you guys are gonna be the recommending body too. Okay, so I think we have clear on that. Okay. Is that good?
Yeah.
Yes, Mariana?
What is the exact plan then? Because I'm confused now.
So I think what I wrote down that we had defined is that you're still gonna go talk to your neighbors, your community, and then send those ideas to me if they give them to you direct, okay? I think that we can still do the Jot Forum idea, or I'm gonna check with the city first to see what their survey was and to see if they can just reopen that survey link, and then we have a link to share. And that link is going to be something that you can email to your neighbors too, and then they can just input their own stuff. Or it's also a link that's shared with the blog. It's also a link that's shared to the school or to the PTA groups. And that is something that then if they want to push it to their email list, it is a great way to get into the families and the school members. So the PTSA can then push it to their memberships. So it's just a broader reach, right? But it is. Yeah.
Okay.
I feel like we were making things a lot more complicated and adding to everything, and it's like, no, we have 4 weeks. Let's just get this out and get it going.
Get it done.
You know, and I don't think this, if somebody wants to put a blurb in the Waterland blog or on their Facebook page, you know, and there's a city link, that's an easy way to do it.
Yeah. And then they can just put and then you don't have to collect the names, but people still might give the names to you. And if they do, then you send them to me, and that makes it easier. And then I'm going to take that information, the full list will go to you before the next meeting for you to just look at all the ideas. And then we'll be doing a voting thing at.
No, I think I know right where the confusion point is. It needs some publicity. If you want to do that publicity via Facebook, via a short article to the blog, that's fine. But we want each and every one of you to reach out to your community and bring in some names. And if there are other names that come in other directions, that's okay too. You know, this is what you want to put into it.
Publicity is fine. I think the question or the feelings were more centered around the contest part of it, right? So I think that it's just, so I think we can do the publicity, so we'll work on the blog write-up, right? And I will actually make sure that there's a narrative that goes out to all of you that you can share. I'll talk to the city first to see what they had on that survey, and get that link if possible. If not, I'll be working with Bettina to set up that jot form link, make sure that we have all that set. So I will be touching base with all of you, but I will be touching base with you two specifically about that push.
Linda?
Can't we make this a lot simpler? Isn't there something we want to recognize? Somebody we want to recognize? Somebody who's done something that we'd want to name it after, that we couldn't make that decision?
Why don't you tell us whether that's what you hear from your community?
Call it the Linda Thompson Alley, whatever. I mean, there's got to be somebody who's done something from here, or, you know, is known for something that we would want to name the alley after. We could decide, you know, make suggestions. You guys can make suggestions. We can ask people, but then we just decide on 3 and then vote on it.
That's exactly what we're
Where we'll
saying
end
is
up.
going to happen.
But I'm saying we don't go out all over the place. I'm saying come up with ideas. Like, do we have somebody who's been in the Olympics? Do we have somebody who's died? Do we have, I mean, what has gone on in our community over the past 30 years that we want to recognize someone to name the alley after? There's got to be things.
When I think
We look forward to you bringing back that information.
I think those are suggestions
we're
that
asking
you'll
you for.
see, and then you will all get to vote on
I
that.
think
Richard?
we're making it way too difficult.
Well, I think it is, we can make this very simple, and I think we're going to do exactly what you want. We're just reaching out to get data, and then we're going to make the decision.
Yeah.
Some of that might be people that died or famous or whatever. We don't know, because we don't know everything. So everybody can do their own thing in getting the names, but a low energy level of putting out that link is no big deal, extending the existing survey. And all we're doing is gathering into a big old pot, and then we make the decision.
Okay. Mary Ellen?
For the Waterland blog, what are we advocating? That I put my own little ad in there, or that?
No, I think that Victoria had raised it, so I think that we're going to work, and you know, she's the one that maybe will submit it over after we work on the language, so that only one person's doing that. So just, how about this? I'm going to take the notes on everything that we talked about and decided on here, and I will send this out as a recap so that everyone sees it in your email, in your inbox, as to what the process is going to look like. And then if you have questions, reach out to me. But I think that hopefully will help answer the questions on who's doing what and what the process will look like.
And what the expectation.
Yes.
Because I'm kind of thinking survey in the blog, and I go not quite door to door, but she's got a connection for me at Wesley Gardens that'll help, so.
Okay, great. And I think, so I think it's time to move on to our next topic, which is to loop back to the meetings. And so we had started talking about that, feeling like we're probably going to be needing at least one meeting, if not 2, over the next couple months. This meeting will come back, or this topic will come back in April. So we'll set a meeting for April. And understanding that summertime gets busy, so we want to maybe get a couple of those meetings in, and then maybe not have as much to do during the summer. But Harry, do you want to, I'm sorry, Deputy Mayor, do you want to
Yes.
discuss a little bit more on that? Okay.
Exactly where I was headed. Okay, so next meeting date in April. Do we like a Wednesday night meeting? Do we prefer a different night? Not Thursdays, because that'll conflict with council. Wednesdays are good. The 24th would be just about a month out, 4 weeks out. April 24th, I'm sorry, Linda?
I'm not going to be around.
Okay. Is anybody else unavailable on the 24th? Okay. Okay, I just don't know that if trying to go 3 weeks would give us quite enough time, but please do share with whoever else represents your district.
I don't know. The North Central District, who's the,
Central District
I think that's Brian.
or North Central?
I think it's the other
Ryan Bowery.
I've got
Mhm.
it. Yeah, let me look.
I'm sorry,
Yeah, oh no.
Colleen?
I was wondering if it's possible to join remotely if you happen to be on a business trip or something and you can dial in, like we had tonight.
I don't know, do we have the technology to participate remotely?
You should have one. I don't know what it is.
We just have to probably do the setup, but, yeah, we could probably talk to staff and see how regular it can be.
Okay, so we can look into it. Mm-hmm. 6 to 8, unless people want to move that back a little bit. 6 to 8. All right. April 24th, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m.
Okay.
Assuming, yeah, council chambers should be free.
Here's what I'm going to say to the people, and I will send this out also. If there's people that are not able to make it, you're going to get that list ahead of time. If you're not able to make it, you can still submit your 3 choices off that list, okay, before the meeting, and then we'll make sure to incorporate that and add your votes to it. And I'll add that into this email too.
All right. Well, I want to thank everybody very much. This was a great and lively discussion. Lots of great ideas, and this is good. This is what hashing it through is a good thing to be done in this. So please, if anybody's really frustrated with this, don't be. This is what it's gonna, this is democracy in action.
I will also say really quick before we end, I know that some of you have been sending me meeting ideas for things that you do want to talk
Richard,
about.
can you keep it down a little bit?
Sorry, just really quick. I know that you guys, some of you have been sending me meeting topic ideas that you have, and I have been sharing those with Deputy Mayor and the Mayor. So we have that list. We are talking about it. So just know that your ideas are going before them, and we will be determining what and when and what comes up. Okay?
Good timing. So thank you all very much. I appreciate you coming.
I did not expect to come to something that really had no processes in place already. I've lived in the city since '87, and coming from a place like the city of Seattle, where we couldn't even publish anything without getting signatures and all that kind of stuff, I'm shocked. I'm shocked.
Jenny.
That goes to my remarks earlier.
Jenny, do you want us to put these back? Save these like we have in the past?
I would love to help with building processes, but there's